Okej allihopa, välkomna för nästa programpunkt. Då kommer vi köra lite gästspel från New York Film Academy. Roger Del Pozo kommer hålla en liten workshop om the art of audition. Welcome Roger from New York Film Academy.
Thank you very much, Quang. It's great to see you. Hello, everyone. My name is Roger Del Pozo. I am the Director of Outreach at the New York Film Academy. The New York Film Academy, if you don't know, is a regionally and nationally accredited college of visual and performing arts. We have 3 permanent locations in the US. We're in New York, Los Angeles, and South Beach, Miami. We also have a full-time campus in Florence, Italy, as well as a full-time campus on the Gold Coast of Australia. We are on the top 20 list of both the Hollywood Reporter and Variety as best film schools in the world. Part of my job at the New York Film Academy is to work with students. My background is that I was a professional casting director in New York for about 12 years before I started at the New York Film Academy 11 years ago. And in that period of time, I cast close to 1,000 television commercials, as well as voiceovers, video games, plays, television, film, basically anything that you can put an actor into a job. I've assisted with that process in my career as a casting director. For the New York Film Academy, I work primarily with our performing arts students. I run all of the auditions at the school for both our acting for film programs as well as our musical theater programs. I also teach in our summer programs. I teach audition technique. I also teach the business of acting. And I'm in charge of running the mixers where we put our filmmaking students with our acting students. And I teach them about the art of casting, how to find the right actors for your projects. So my job really is to work with actors to help them to audition better professionally, but also to audition them for our programs. Students have to audition for our any program at the New York Film Academy of 1 year or longer in the performing arts. So I work with a lot of the students who are auditioning. And I want to talk today a little bit about auditioning for colleges or auditioning professionally and how that would work for the performer. Hopefully we have a few performers out there. But I also want to speak to filmmakers and content creators about the process of casting, because when you speak to people in the know, directors, producers, writers, whether you're talking about in the commercial world or even what we term the legit world, which is TV, film, and theater, most will agree that casting is one of the most important elements of any project that you're going to work on. The very famous director, Mike Nichols, said that 90% of his job as a director was casting, was putting the right performers in the parts. In addition to story, which obviously you need to have story, whether it's a commercial, a film, a play, in addition to story, casting, those two are really going to be the most important elements of any project. So I want to talk a little bit about that. And I'm going to be speaking from my perspective as a casting director and someone who does this at the academic level. What I'm going to talk to you about today may seem like common knowledge to some. It also may seem like contradictory to what you've heard. I meet a lot of actors who basically I'm giving them advice and it's a little bit different from advice that they had heard before. But hopefully this is helpful to you, whether you're auditioning for a school or whether you're looking to do this professionally out in the world, either in front of the camera or behind the camera. So let me take you through a little presentation, guys. So I like to start with basically what I see as very common mistakes that actors make when they are initially starting out, whether they're auditioning for a school or they are auditioning to work in the professional world. So what are some common mistakes that the performer can make? Well, the first mistake that I think that performers make is that they feel like they're auditioning for one role when they get in front of a casting director for a specific part, and they feel like they're auditioning for one role. And if they don't get that part, they feel like they failed at that audition, okay? And I am here to tell you that when you audition for me as a casting director, you're never auditioning for one role. You may think that you're auditioning for one role, but the reality is you are auditioning now for every single part that I am going to cast from that point forward. So let's say you're not right for the first job or the second job. You might be right for the 10th job or the 11th job. So when I audition actors, I'm not only thinking about that one part that I brought them in for, I'm thinking about them for everything that I'm going to do. Because the reality is when you're a performer, most of the time you audition for a specific part, the reality is you're not going to get it most of the time. That's just a fact of being a performer. If I bring in 30 actors to audition for one commercial, 29 of them are not going to get that commercial, no matter how good they are in the audition. But I will always go back to those auditions when I'm thinking about casting future projects. The way that would work is basically, when you audition for me, I'm going to put you on camera. I'm going to have you on tape, or digital tape as it is right now. And basically, when I cast projects down the line, I refer back to those. And I can't tell you how many times that I've worked with a director and they would say to me, you remember that actress that we brought in 2 years ago for that job? She was very quirky and funny, but she didn't get that job. I think she's right for this job. Call her in on this job. So what you have to understand is anytime you're getting in front of a casting director or an agent or a manager, someone who can help you with your career, they're not only looking at you for that one particular job, they're going to be looking at you for everything that they're going to do down the line. And I think that that's a really positive thing for you to think about as a performer, so that your audition doesn't feel like a failure to you if you don't get the job. If you do a great job in that audition, but you don't book the role, it still is a successful audition, because I'm going to look to you, like I said, down the line when I'm looking to cast future projects. Now, when you're auditioning for a school, that takes on a completely other dynamic, because when you do audition for a school, you're not auditioning for one role. You're auditioning to get accepted into that school. So you don't have to worry so much about the characterization that you're giving being like the be all end all, and that's the only thing that's important. No, when I'm auditioning an actor for our program, I'm not necessarily looking to see how they would play one role. I'm looking to see what kind of student are they going to be. Did they work hard? Are they professional? Did they put the time in? Did they memorize the piece? Are they making very, very clear and specific choices? So you can't worry so much about the audition being perfect. You have to think about, did I show the best aspects of my personality? Did I put enough time into this? Was I prepared to do this? Would I make an impression as someone who would make a strong student in a performing arts program? So that's definitely something that I want you to think about. The other very, very common mistake that I think actors make that is very, very frequent is that they think that I know exactly what I want. And they think that I know exactly how the part should go. And they think that the director knows exactly how the part should go. And that when we see the right actor doing exactly what we want them to do, that's the person that we're going to cast. But I'm here to tell you that that is not really how we look at it. And it's not the way that any director, budding director, should be looking at the audition process. When I'm auditioning actors, I try not to worry about what I want them to do. I want the actor to worry about what they want to do in this scenario, right? So the reality is I'm more concerned with how you would approach the role than how I would approach the role. I want to see your very, very clear perspective. So one bit of advice that I would give to performers, and again, this may seem a little bit contradictory, but I would advise you not to worry about what you think I want when you're auditioning for me. You should be concerned with getting yourself across in the best possible way. Because when we're auditioning actors, either for the school, again, or professionally, what I want to see is an actor that is going to bring something to the material that maybe I didn't even anticipate. I want to see how the actor not only serves the material, but can enhance it through bringing their own personality, their own perspective, their own point of view, their own decisions to that piece. So what I would say to you, and this is difficult for young actors, because young, immature actors who maybe haven't been doing this for a long time, they're very, very anxious to please when they come into the room, and they want to be validated when they come into the room, and they want to get the role, or they want to be accepted to the school. So they worry too much about what I want them to do, rather than worrying about what I think is important, which is how can they get across how they would play this role better than anyone else. And that really is going to come down to the performer making decisions, not worrying so much about what my decision is. And the reality is, you have to be brave when you're a performer. You have to take risks, you have to take chances, you have to make decisions. I mean, really, what's the worst that can happen? The worst thing that's going to happen is you're not going to get the role. But like I said before, the reality is you're probably not going to get the role anyway for most projects that you go out on. So you really owe it to yourself to make sure that you are delivering the kind of performance that is unique to you. That is going to be what shines for us on our end. Again, I want to see how you are going to take this material and, through your own personality and your own perspective, elevate the material, not only serve it. And so again, it comes down to confidence, and it comes down to you being able to have trust in your ability, and not worry so much about what the audience is going to think about the performance. Okay, so let's cover a couple of these things very quickly. What can foil an audition? What can make an actor have an absolutely terrible audition? Well, the first thing is going to be a lack of preparation. You know, when an actor comes in front of me, whether it's at the professional level or for the school, I want to know that this actor has prepared, that they've at least memorized the piece, or if you're given a script, you know, without a lot of time, they at least put the work in, they're making choices, they've prepared. I want to make sure that they have an understanding of the material, that they've read all of the material, and that they're making very, very specific choices. The worst thing that can happen is an actor comes in, they're completely unprepared, they don't have the lines memorized, they don't know whether they want to sit or stand, they haven't worked out their physicality, and you can see that in the room. And when the actor is not prepared, what happens is they become anxious, they become nervous, they become desperate, and that's really not the best way to come across, whether you're auditioning for a professional casting director or for an admissions officer at a school. We want to feel like you have the confidence, you have the ability, and you've prepared. And again, when I'm looking for students looking to come to school, if you come in and you're not prepared, that gives me a lot of insight into what kind of student that you're going to be. If you haven't even put the time in to prepare for this audition, I doubt you're going to make a very, very strong student when you come to New York Film Academy. So I want to see that preparation right from the beginning. Okay, some other things. How can an actor prepare? You know, you're a new actor, you're just starting out, you might not have a lot of technique under your belt. How do you prepare for each audition? Well, the first thing I would say, and obviously I come from the point of view of someone who's worked at a school for the last 11 years, but for me, it's very important that you hone your craft. Acting is a craft. I know a lot of people think it is just about, you know, behaving normally on camera, behaving naturally, but there's a lot more to it than that. Acting is not behaving normally. It's giving the appearance that everything that is happening is completely normal, although it's not. You know, you may be repeating the lines multiple times. You may be shooting from different camera angles. You have big lights in your face. You're wearing makeup. You're wearing a costume. You have to hit a mark. Oftentimes you have to do that out of order. So you may start at the end, and then the next scene might be the beginning of the scene. And oftentimes when you shoot a film, you have to shoot things out of order. Again, you have to do very, very specific things, but you have to make it seem like this is not happening, that this is the first time that this is happening, I should say. So that takes a lot of preparation and technique and care, and acting really is a craft. So you have to start to develop your craft. And you're either going to learn how to do this by being lucky enough to be on set a lot, like you grew up in the industry, like a child actor, someone like Leonardo DiCaprio, who grew up, working as an actor. He was on set as a very, very young person and was able to glean a lot of experience in the real world. But if you don't have that opportunity, you then have to go to a school or go to a conservatory somewhere where you can train, where you can get the practice, so that you, when you are expected to do this in the audition scenario, you're very prepared to be able to do it. And I can tell you that from watching many actors throughout my career, tens of thousands of actors throughout my career, that you can tell when an actor is trained and has craft and has technique to fall back on, because those actors can make very, very quick decisions. They understand the job, they know what's expected of them, and they're able to deliver. So the first thing is really honing your craft. The second thing that I have here is about preparing and letting go. Again, you have to prepare so much as an actor that when you actually have to do the performance, you no longer have to think about it. Like I tell my actors, memorize your lines, understand the scenario, create your imaginary circumstances, get them so solidified in your mind that when you're actually doing it, you don't have to think about it. They become subconscious. And that allows you to be creative, to use your imagination, because you've put that time in. You've prepared so that you can let go of it. So you've prepared so you can let that preparation go and get into a flow state, so that when you're auditioning, you're kind of operating on a subconscious level because you put that time in. A very important thing is being physically present. So much of what an actor does comes from their physicality. So you want to make sure that you've done your physical exercises, you feel very in touch with your body when you go into the audition, so that you're in complete control of that instrument. If you're stiff, if you're tired, if your body is aching, you're hurting, your instrument really isn't at the level that it has to be at to do this at a very high level. So you want to make sure that you do that physical preparation before you come into the audition. And again, that's something that you learn in school. Part of what you'll do at New York Film Academy or other great acting schools is that you're going to learn how to do physical preparation for any role that you're taking on. A lot of what happens with an actor really originates in the body. So we make sure that we're training the body to be able to adjust to a lot of different situations. And if you think about some of our best actors, like a Christian Bale, or, even like a Meryl Streep, they're very physical actors. They put a lot into their physicality. Robert De Niro, there's so much about what they do that is very, very physical. That's why it's important to really focus on how you handle your body. Again, you want to find a way to get yourself to a very, very relaxed place, and a very hyper-focused place at the same time. You're looking for relaxation and concentration to be happening at the same time. And when you're very relaxed and you're loose and you're confident and you go into that audition, that manifests itself, and we see that. When we feel that you're relaxed, then the audience starts to relax and they feel like they're in good hands with you as a performer. If you come in and you're nervous and you're anxious and you're scared, and you're unprepared, that stuff reads very, very quickly. Especially if I'm going to put you on camera. If you have anxiety when you come into that audition, and then I put a camera in your face and I blow you up onto my 60-inch monitor, we're going to see that anxiety. Anything that you're thinking, the camera is going to pick it up right away. So it's important to get yourself to a place where you're relaxed and focused at the same time. There's almost a meditative quality to that. And again, a lot of that comes from training, because a lot of acting training is about getting you to be relaxed, getting you to be comfortable and confident. One thing that I would tell all actors is, when you're, and this may sound like a cliche, but it's something that you want to get into your mind, almost like a mantra. When you're going into an audition, make sure that you're answering the 5 W's. Very, very important. Who, what, where, when, why. Anytime you're doing an audition, you should have an answer to all of those questions. So what does that mean? The first question, who? Who am I talking to in this scene? Is it my brother? Is it my mother? Is it my boss? Is it a friend? Because I'm going to be different in all of those scenarios, even if the lines are the same. So I want to know exactly who I'm talking to. Okay. The second W, what? What are we talking about? You know, what is the scene about? You know, are we talking about something in the professional world? Are we talking about love? Are we talking about betrayal? Are we talking about revenge? Like all of those things uh, would affect your perspective on those lines, on the scenario. So you want to know exactly what you're talking about. Where are you? Are you in a classroom? Are you in your bedroom? Are you on the street? Are you in a war? Like, where are you? Because that physically, again, would affect how you would say those lines. You're going to be different in every different scenario. So you want to be very, very specific. Where does this scene take place? Okay. When does it take place? That would be the fourth W, right? Is it at midnight? Is it at 9 in the morning? Is it at 3 in the afternoon? I would be different in all of those scenarios. So I want to know exactly when this scene is taking place. And then the final W, which is probably the most important W, is why. Why is this happening right now? Generally, when you do an audition, it's a part of something much bigger, right? So if you're doing a monologue, it's a part of a play or a screenplay. If you're doing a scene, again, it's a part of a play or a screenplay. So what you want to know is, why is this happening right now? What happened right before this to make this happen? What is going to happen in the scene after this? Place it in a context and understand why this is happening. We always hear the actor cliche, what is my motivation? What they're really saying is why. Why am I saying this now? And you have to have the answer to all those questions. And sometimes it's not obvious. Sometimes it's not in the script. Sometimes you wouldn't have been given that direction, and you have to make those choices on your own. So when you see a script and you know that you're going to be doing an audition, you want to think about that. Who, what, where, when, why. You want to have a mantra. You want to make sure that you're answering all those questions. On the other side, if you're a director or a writer and you're working with a performer, you want to make sure you provide as many answers as possible. So you should also know the who, what, where, when, why of the scene. And if the actor is misguided in what they think is happening in the scene, that's when you would give them some redirection. You know, when I audition actors, I generally will give them the first take for free. And what I mean by that is, I'm not going to tell them anything. I may say, you know, if you have to do a bit of blocking, you know, pick up your glasses in this scene and put them on. I may give them a direction like that, but I'm not going to tell them too much about the scenario. And the reason is I want to see what they will do without me giving them direction. I want to see what their instinct is. But then if I do a second take with the actor, that's where I may try and tweak and give direction. And a lot of times I'll go back to those imaginary circumstances, making sure that the actor is very clear. Do you know who you're talking to here? Do you know what you're talking about? If you don't, let me give you some guidance on that. So make sure that you're giving actors the tools so that they can audition to the best of their ability. Now, real quickly, because I know we don't have a lot of time, I want to take you through a couple of other stumbling blocks that actors have. And this happens very often with actors auditioning for a school. They think they're coming from the perspective that there's some kind of hierarchy, that me, the casting director, or in this situation, the director of outreach, I'm in an elevated position and they're the actor, they're coming in, they need me to give them a job or a place at my institution or a scholarship. So automatically there's a shift in the power balance where I'm kind of above them and they don't feel like worthy to kind of be in the room, and they feel like there's almost some kind of like I'm the boss and they're the employee. But the reality is that is not true. We are working together, we are collaborating, and we have the same goal. When you audition for me, your goal should be to do the best possible audition that you can. From my perspective, what I want from you as the performer is for you to do the best possible audition that you can. So you and I are at the same, we have the same goal, which is you to succeed in this audition. So understand that there isn't a hierarchy. We're a team, we're collaborating. If I'm trying to cast a project, and I was hired as a casting director to cast a specific project, I want you to do a great job. I want everyone to do a great job. From just a purely selfish point of view, I want my clients to think that I'm the best casting director that there is. And that means that I bring in the best people to audition for projects. So the reality is I want everyone to be good. And when I'm auditioning students for my school, of course, I want them to be great. I want part of my job is to find the best performers to fill our programs, people that I think are going to succeed when they get out into the world. So I want you to do a great job. So if you get in the room to audition for me, understand that you are meant to be there. You are worthy. You have every right to get the role as much as anyone else that we're calling in. So again, that's about being confident. That's about being, very self-aware when you come into the room and understanding that, we want you to do a great job. Where that can sometimes can be challenging is, what I mentioned before, that too many actors worry too much about what is expected of them in the audition. And they have so much anticipation about that. But again, I think that is something that you cannot worry about, because that's something that's going to take you out of the scene. If you're prioritizing the end result of the audition, and what would that be? Either you getting the role, or you getting accepted into the institution, or you being awarded a scholarship. If you're too worried about that, which is the end result, you're not worrying enough about the process of the audition. You can't be present in the moment if you're worrying about the end. So, in conclusion, what I would want to say is, don't worry so much about whether or not you're going to get it, whether or not you're pleasing us. Worry about what's happening in the scene. Who, what, where, when, why. Okay. Lastly, I would just say, in this time of pandemic, I'm not able to be auditioning people in person, which I normally love to do. My last trip before the pandemic, I was with Kwang in Sweden auditioning actors. That was the last trip that I went on this past February. So, now we're auditioning actors in a different way. We're recording them. Either we're doing it virtually via Zoom, or actors are submitting their own auditions. So I will just really quickly tell you, if you need any advice about recording an audition, anything like that, you can always get in touch with Kwang. He can put you in contact with me, and I can guide you and give you advice on how to record an audition, or if you're interested in New York Film Academy, on how to set up a virtual Zoom audition to be able to audition for us in person. Okay. Lastly, if you do have any questions about the New York Film Academy, obviously go to Kwang. We work very closely with him and Studden in general, so they can help you with the whole process. But if you do have questions from me, I want you to feel free to reach out to me as well. That's my email there, roger@nyfa.edu. I love working with performers. I love working with filmmakers. So if you have any questions, please feel free to use me as a resource. And I just want to say thank you to Kwang, to Studden, for having us today. I hope this was a little bit informative to the participants. So thank you very much, Kwang, for your time.
Wow, perfect. Thank you very much, Roy. Well said, and thank you for the inspirational words. Yeah, so it was very good information. And för er som lyssnare, tack så mycket för att ni lyssnade på Roger och oss. Nästa program på schemat kommer vara att jobba i Kanada, där man får höra lite mer hur det är där borta. Har ni några mer frågor så får ni gärna kontakta oss. Annars börjar nästa program nu om 1 minut. Min kollega Elisabeth kommer ta över. Once again, thank you very much, Roger. Take care.
Thank you, Kwang. Great to see you. Be well, everyone. Take care.
Bye.